Okay, I think I did a video about this once before, but since somebody had brought up east of 41, west of 41 on the Bonita Springs Estero Community Forum, I thought I would just make a short video and rebut some of the statements because they weren't exactly accurate. West of 41 is a flood zone, is not correct. Not everything is considered a flood zone. And how is a flood zone determined? It is determined, number one, an overlay by the government, but number two, when you purchase a home and you get a survey, they also do a flood elevation. And that determines the final grade of the home, and it also determines what flood zone of insurance you need, for example. So you could be on one street and have a home like mine that was built in the 70s next door to a home that was built in 2014, and they are on the same street, and one of them's in a flood zone and one of them's not, because you can actually be in a very low area, build a home either on stilts or even on a little bit of extra fill and have it mapped out of a flood zone and still carry flood insurance just in case a pipe bursts or there's some other type of interior flood, because just because you don't need flood insurance doesn't mean you don't need flood insurance. Or just because your lender doesn't require flood insurance doesn't mean you should not get flood insurance. It's a couple $100 a year if you're in a finger quote no flood zone or 100-year flood zone. So there are homes west of 41 that are not in a flood zone. They just aren't, because it is not all flat land. It's got little rolls to it. Second, there are homes east of 41 that are also not in a flood zone or in a flood zone. It depends. Sometimes closer to the river is just a lower elevation, so it may be a flood zone. So again, all of this is determined by a surveyor with an elevation certificate to accurately let you know. Now, there are some great websites that'll get you a ballpark idea of whether or not you are in a flood zone or not, or what level the flood zone is in, because it is not a blanket. There are varying elevations, so that is determined by the professional. Let's see, there was something else. Do something about east of 41. Oh, somebody mentioned there was no golf access east of 41. Well, the Imperial River runs all the way to Bonita Grand Road, so all you have is different types of golf access. Depends on how far you would like to idle your boat out the river, or how far up the river determines how small of a watercraft you get, simply due to draft, or due to the width of the river or canal, what size boat you can actually turn around. Let me think of what else. See, the problem is I can't flip the camera over and read the Facebook page because it turns off the video. But there was a whole bunch of stuff on there the flooding east of 41. Somebody said everything east of 41 floods. Well, any house can flood. It can be due to rain. It could be due to onshore winds, a tropical storm, a combination of all of those, including high tide, onshore wind, tropical storm, full moon, believe it or not. There's a lot of things that can make a property flood. And it doesn't have to be east of 41 for that to happen. And not everything east of 41 floods. And I will tell you this. I have both a single-family home that I live in on a canal that was built in the 70s. It's very low, and I pay my flood insurance. That one did not flood during Irma. And I also have a little dinky one over in Old Bonita, built in the 50s, probably one of the lowest houses in town, and that one didn't flood. There is flooding in some areas of town along the river across the street from Home Depot on Bonita Beach Road. It's been, ever since I've lived here 35 years, there's been flooding almost as much as I've known. So the US 41 does not divide flooding, non-flooding. It does not divide flood insurance, not flood insurance. It's a matter of property to property. It's a case-by-case scenario that you can find out, number one, generalized flood information on websites, and I can get a link for you for that. And then two, when you purchase a home, you can ask the current owner if they have a flood elevation certificate, which they may have. And if they don't have that, you can get one when you get a survey to verify further whether or not you're in a flood zone. And I think I covered a good portion of what was on that page. And that's it. If I can answer any other questions for you, let me know.